McLovin, update the poll results.
If you were the Packers, would you rest Aaron Rodgers is the question, and 65% say no to start.
Let me start there with Carson Palmer. Carson, Packers, let's say you had to pick one. They get home field advantage in the playoffs, but no rest for Aaron Rodgers. Or you rest Aaron Rodgers for a couple of games, and he starts the playoffs completely healthy with no home field advantage.
Well, I don't think it's a guarantee that if you rest Aaron for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks that he gets back to 100%. When you're talking about a broken bone in a foot, it could take a month. So at the end of the day, when you combine that with the fact that the Green Bay Packer home field advantage is probably unlike any other in the league. I mean, you got weather concerns that an opposing team has to come in, and that fan base doesn't sell their tickets. That fan base shows up to the game. They're not selling their tickets to potential opposing fans where they're going to lose some of that crowd noise. So I think it's too important to keep that number one seed and keep that advantage in their favor.
Explain this as a former quarterback of the pinky toe on his left foot, his plant foot, as opposed to his right foot. How does that affect your throwing?
I really don't think it should affect it that much. I mean, as far as today's, with all the equipment and the things and the footbeds you can put, the orthotics that you can put in the shoe to really help protect that pinky toe. I think that's going to be really nice. I'm sure that their training staff is on top of that, bringing in a consultant or a specialist that can create some sort of footbed in his shoe to protect it as much as possible. But where it really limits him is when he takes off and runs. It's not so much the throwing, it's not planning and stepping and rotating into throws. It's when he needs to extend the play and get outside the pocket and take off on third down with his legs is where the biggest concern will be.
And also when you watch him throw, as you've talked about, you tell young quarterbacks, don't try to emulate Aaron Rodgers. He has so many of those off-balance throws. He's not really one of those, I'm going to step into a throw and plant with my left leg.
No, he's got that Bryson DeChambeau swing where right at impact and right when the ball's coming out, a lot of the times his back foot is off the ground. He's already accelerated through the throw and gotten his hip through the throw, and that foot comes off the ground. And like you're saying, with these young quarterbacks, there's so many guys coaching, keep all 7 studs. You have 7 studs on each cleat, 7 cleats that are coming out of the bottom of the foot of the cleat. And we're always taught as youngsters is keeping those 7 studs in the ground to get as much ground force as you can to create as much velocity in the throw. And so Aaron just does it different. I still don't know how he does it. We need a physicist to come in and explain it to all of us. But he very rarely has all 7 studs in the grass.
We asked this question earlier in the show. You could have Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow. Who do you want?
I would take Herbert right now. I mean, he is so special and so different physically, athletically. He is so gifted. And I'm not saying anything about Joe that he's not. I mean, he doesn't have the velocity and the RPMs on the football. He doesn't have the long ball ability with the touch that Justin's shown. Joe's got another set of traits that are spectacular. I mean, his confidence, his knowledge of the game, his coolness and calmness in the pocket are spectacular. And those are outliers compared to other quarterbacks in the league. But when you just look at the raw talent and the raw athleticism of Justin Herbert, there aren't many like him. I mean, maybe Patrick Holmes is on the same level. There's probably another guy or two that you can, when you watch them play, they do absolutely off the charts things physically. But right now, I think Justin Herbert has more athletic ability and more physical physical rawness that you can't teach, you can't coach, you can't show a guy how to do. He just has it.
Can a quarterback run too much?
Absolutely. I mean, I grew when I was coming up in the league, Michael Vick was a guy I loved watching play and still love watching his highlights. He ran a lot and he took a pounding and it caught up to him at some point. And, I used to joke around with him. I'd see him at different events, and even Vic, when he was running 4.1, he would always get that last couple yards going out of bounds. And it wasn't a bone crushing hit, but he would just get shoved. And then there'd be a cameraman or a third down marker in his way. And he'd end up falling and rolling out of bounds and landing on his shoulder and his neck and his ankle. And just all these little incremental hits add up, especially when you talk about a guy going into year 8, 9, 10, 12, 15. So absolutely. I think you can run too much and take an unnecessary amount of pounding on your body.
Yeah, I thought Michael Vick was a Bo Jackson-like talent, but he just didn't put in the time I think he had God-given ability, and I don't, unlike like Michael Jordan or, athletes of that, like Tiger, they have that God-given ability, but they have this desire to be unbelievably great. And I always thought that, Michael took it for granted that he was just athletically gifted and he could have been so much better.
I never felt like that. And I don't know, individual study habits of guys and can't comment on that. But I loved watching him play. I thought he was as unique a talent as any of us have ever seen. There may not be another Mike Vick. But I don't know, as far as study habits and desire, every time I've been around him, he absolutely loves the game. He knows the game. And from coaches that I've been around, like Coach Mora and a handful of others, loved working with him and loved everything that he brought to the team.
Watching the Buffalo Bills, we're talking to Carson Palmer, watching the Bills yesterday, they kind of woke up in the fourth quarter. I don't know if they found something after they had something missing for the last couple of weeks here, but I don't know what their identity is, Carson. I don't know if they know what kind of team they are. What did you sense from what they did first three quarters to what they did in the fourth quarter, and is that going to change things in the last month?
Yeah, it seemed to me like all of a sudden they realized, hold on, we're about to be maybe on the seventh, maybe the eighth spot in the AFC playoff picture, and all of a sudden they started showing up and playing. I was so excited about watching this team this year, and I'm in the same boat. I don't know who they are. I've seen them lose to some teams they should not have lost to. I've seen them play unbelievable football, but the best teams this time of year, we're in December now. We're almost in January. This is playoff football team. You can't go into a playoff game and start playing in the fourth quarter, especially against the defending champs, especially against Bruce Arians, especially against Tom Brady. You're going to get beat and you're going to get knocked out of the playoffs. So, this team I really like Singletary, the running back. I really like Josh Allen. I really like the defense. I really like Coach McDermott. There's so many things to want to like and believe in, but they've shown us just enough that we really can't trust them. We don't know who they are. And if they do find a way to squeak into the playoffs somehow, some way, if they show up like that against anybody on a playoff day on Sunday, they're going to get beat like they did yesterday.
How big is this game for the Cardinals and the Rams tonight?
Big for both. I mean, when you look at both those conferences, the AFC and the NFC, the best divisions are on the West. You look at what's going on in the NFC West, there's three teams maybe that can make the playoffs. And the same thing can be said about the AFC West. There might be three teams that can squeak in. So to get that number one seed, to know that you're in and know that when you do get to week 16, 17, 18, knowing that you won this division between these two teams that are playing tonight, you got that in the bag. Then you can start resting this 17th week and 18th week of the season and make sure, whether it's Aaron Donald who's banged up or Kyler Murray with an ankle, it gives you that luxury of resting those guys if you know you have this division locked up.
I've been holding off the obvious. You got
the obvious?
Well, you got the Heisman.
Not technically in my hands yet. It is actually at the College Football Hall of Fame.
Okay, but they opened it. They found a way to open the Heisman.
They found a way to open it. We've got it. Thank you, FedEx. It securely got there. We really appreciate everything FedEx has done. Really appreciate what your boys in the office have done, and it got home. Well, it didn't get home yet, but it got to safer hands than the Dan Patrick Show.
Yeah, and I felt bad. And I was going to make an example of somebody, but I can't afford to fire somebody. So, I know you wanted somebody disciplined, but I couldn't do it, Carson.
No.
We're sorry. We're sorry that you went through all of this and you got the Heisman case and you didn't even get to open it up for your big induction ceremony.
Well, I did not want to see anybody disciplined. I love Fritz. I love Turby. I love Eric. Everybody is great. You guys are the best, and nobody deserves a discipline. At the end of the day, the Heisman got from point A to point B just like we needed.
Yeah, and I do put some blame on you because you trusted us.
True. Well, you're in this like beautiful space, this little cozy den, this man cave, and I just feel like everything's so professional over there that I shouldn't have had to worry. And to be honest, I didn't worry. At the end of the day, it got there. It may not have got there the way we wanted or with any kind of timing at all, but it got there.
Is the Heisman being sent to you?
The Heisman currently is at the Hall of Fame for another couple months, and then it'll come back to me. And I think it'll come back with the key and in the correct box and hopefully all in one big piece.
Yeah, but you put it in the garage. You didn't even have it on display at your house. Is it going to stay in the garage again?
I don't know. I haven't had. How long did you end up having it for? Like 2 or 3 years? How long did you have it for?
I don't remember. The fact that you don't know how long we had it, I'm going to guess we had it for 2 years, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you need it back?
Well,
No, I don't want to do that. Never mind.
I mean, I'd love
Scratch
to.
that.
I would. Okay, all right. I would love to have it back. I mean, it's a great conversation piece. But the number of people go, "Is that the real Heisman?" We go, "Yes." What do you think it is? And they go, "Why would he give it to you?" And I go, "I don't know, but he did."
We can work something out.
Yeah,
We'll
and
figure it out.
it looks like you're on the set of a Game of Thrones episode there. Like you got basement castle.
Yeah, no, this is just the basement office. It is a little Game of Thrones feeling. You're right.
Is that the wine cellar?
No, it's just the basement. It's the basement of the office. It's a beautiful staircase, and
looks impressive.
I could use a wine cellar though. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Well, talk to Bledsoe. Bledsoe can help you with the wine.
I love double back wine. I have a bunch of his wine. It's fantastic. I do not have a wine cellar, but maybe, I don't know, maybe next time, maybe if you guys want to put a little money into the infrastructure here, we can shoot from the future wine cellar.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. We lose things. We don't buy things, Carson. We're not going to help you with your basement wine cellar there.
I wouldn't trust you or your crew building
I
anything
agree.
for me.
I agree. By the way,
No chance.
The Urban Meyer, Mike Vrabel handshake at the end of the game, a lot of people made a big deal about this. As a former player, is it a big deal, that handshake after the game?
It's not. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not. But the immaturity of some of the things that have happened in Jacksonville. I mean, when it seems like you're not as mature as some of your players, you got a problem. I mean, it's just one thing after another, after another, after another. And it's not hard. Cameras are on you. It's not hard to throw a smile or at least mouth the word "good game" and shake somebody's hand, especially somebody that you have a relationship with from the past and was on your team. But I know it's definitely, there's a bigger deal made of what actually happened. But at the end of the day, Coach Meyer just needs to, at least, you don't even have to say "good game." You can just say, so that the cameras pick that up, and leave your hand in the other guy's hand for another 6 or 7 seconds to make it look somewhat genuine. But it seems that things have really gone south really quickly. I know Shad Khan doesn't seem to have a long leash on anybody that's come through that organization to get them right. I've heard tremendous stories about the ownership group. At some point, it looks like things are going to change there in Jacksonville.
But so you think if he just mouths "good game" and just so it's the optics that we get to see this, then you're okay with Urban Meyer kind of going through the motions?
I look at everything through the quarterback's perspective and the organization's perspective. And from my viewpoint as the quarterback, and you're a rookie, and Trevor Lawrence then goes into his presser on Wednesday morning, and he's asked 7 questions about Urban Meyer and the distractions and the handshake. Trevor Lawrence needs to be focused on the Week 14 opponent. He does not need to be answering questions about his coach telling his staff they're losers, him not shaking a guy's hand after the game and just being professional. These are all distractions. These things add up, and especially when you have a rookie quarterback that's just trying to find his way and figure things out. The last thing he needs to do is be distracted by things that his head coach is doing either outside the game and after the game or off the field. So, I think at the end of the day, when you look at it through the quarterback's perspective, that's the last thing that Trevor Lawrence needs to be worried about is in answering questions on Wednesday and Thursday after practice and Friday after practice. These things are mounting up, and it has a negative effect on the future of your franchise in Trevor Lawrence.
More concerned about Urban Meyer moving forward or Trevor Lawrence?
Oh, Urban Meyer, 100%. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is what he did at the collegiate level will give him a couple years to figure it out in the NFL. What he's done in a handful of games will give you a little more leniency. Now, there was the 4-pick game yesterday that those are some issues that they'll need to get over, but those are also things that young quarterbacks go through, and those are some of the growing pains. But Trevor, in my opinion, has all the upside in the world. He's playing for – I know this organization has not been great since Shad Khan's taken over, but he's playing for a great owner that's willing to do what it takes to win and willing to spend what it takes to win. And so at the end of the day, when you combine raw talent that Trevor Lawrence has, and he's done it on a big stage, and needless to say, that was college and that was the BCS and the playoffs in college. And I know it's a different game in the NFL, but he's done it against the Alabamas and some of the teams in the SEC. It will soon carry over to the NFL level. So there is no doubt in my mind that Trevor Lawrence is going to stick around in this league for a long time.
What's it like when you lose confidence in your coach?
It's hard. It's hard. It's just, again, these are distractions. When you're worried about your head coach benching a player or not playing some of your best players to make a statement, when you're worried about having to answer questions all the time, like we just talked about, at the end of the day, they're going to figure these things out. They're going to get better. If that's with Urban as the coach or not, it's the right ownership group. It's the right young talent. They're going to figure things out in Jacksonville.
But did you go through a period where you didn't trust your coach?
I've been really fortunate. I played from Bruce Arians to Marvin Lewis to Pete Carroll. I was very fortunate. I played for some great ones. I've seen some opposing players and talked to guys I played against that went through some very Urban-like situations with their coaching staff or their coordinator, and no confidence in their coordinator, frustrations with their QB coach. I've seen it, and I've seen how that can just weigh you down, especially as a young player. So it absolutely can be a distraction. It absolutely can be an issue. And the right ownership group makes the right move at the right time. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a different head coach in Jacksonville next year.
But I wonder about Russell Wilson in that situation right now, Carson. Just feels like there's some frustration there.
It does. But I don't think that should directly be pointed on Pete Carroll. I mean, Pete Carroll's proven that he can win a Super Bowl. He's proven that he can build and construct a really good defense. He started over. I mean, you look back at what Pete did when he first got there, and they somehow got to the playoffs, and Matt Hasselbeck was the guy, and then he built the Legion of Boom. I don't think that Russell needs to be frustrated with the head coach. It looks like he's frustrated more with the organization. But it's tough. I mean, when you talk about one of the best organizations in all of sports, like the Seattle Seahawks, you can want out and you can want something different, but the grass is not always greener on the other side.
Enjoy the game tonight. Always great to see you. Thanks again, buddy.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
That's Carson Palmer. His weekly appearance during the NFL season brought to you by our partner, Level Select CBD. Looking for next level relief, visit levelselectcbd.com.